All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna. We'll continue reading from Prabhupada Lilamrita. Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chapter is a threat against ISKCON. Continuing the story of Purushottam Prabhu from yesterday. He said, I've noticed that you haven't been well lately. You've had some problems? I said, well, I haven't been trying to hide it. I guess I was trying to prepare him for what was coming. I wanted to leave that night. So I said, I want to leave. But he said to me, you've been with me so long and now you're so anxious to go. You can't even stay a night? He said, why don't you stay at least till my plane leaves? That was 2 days later. I said, okay, I'll do that then. I was going to go back to New York. Actually, I didn't have the money for the ticket and he gave me the money. He gave me the bus fare. I really appreciated that. I could have borrowed some money from someone else, but he said, well, you take it and you can pay me back later. And I did. I gave it back the next week. He was very gracious about the whole thing. Actually, I could see that he had a very special, loving way of looking at the world. I felt that sometimes I could see things in a loving way, like he did. And I realized that I got that viewpoint from him. You know, that little loving spirit? He had that. And I kind of caught some of that from him. And that's one of the things I always remember about him. And I know that though I know that through his movement, I came to believe in God. Before I met him, I didn't believe in God. After Purushottam left, Prabhupada spoke with Bhavananda about Purushottam's doubts concerning the moon landing and his subsequent doubts of Krishna consciousness. I can understand that he might not accept it because I said it. But how could he disbelieve the Vedic Shastras? Boston's weather was miserable. When the rain stopped, the snow fell. And when the snow stopped, the rain came again. Prabhupada tried taking a walk in the front yard. Bhavananda beside him with the umbrella, watching cautiously to guard him from falling on the ice. But after a week of Boston's nasty December weather, Prabhupada's cold was getting worse. He would go to Los Angeles. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhavati Bhakti Naishtiki Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Parahamsyam Ekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyam Avishkritam Tat Shrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya vimuchye naraha. Bhaktya vimuchye naraha. Bhaktya vimuchye naraha. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So Hare Krishna and welcome everybody to our Bhagavatam session this morning. We'll continue discussing from Canto 5, Chapter 8. Today is text 11 and 12. Share the screen. Iti kratanusanga asana shayanatana snanasanadishu sahamriga jahuna snehanu baddha hridaya asit. Again, these are not those reciting meters, it's the normal ones. Would somebody like to read the translation? 11?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read. Hare Krishna. Due to attachment for the deer, Maharaja Bharat lay down with it, walked about with it, bathed with it, and even are with it. Thus his heart became bound to the deer in affection. Thank you.
Next text. Text 12. Kusha kusuma samit palasha phala mulodakanya harishyamano vrikasala vrikadibhyo bhayam asamshamano yada saha harina kumrakena vanam samavishati. Translation, somebody?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am reading it that one.
Sure.
When Maharaja Bharata wanted to enter the forest to collect kusha grass, flowers, wood, leaves, fruits, roots, and water, he would fear that dogs, jackals, tigers, and other ferocious animals might kill the deer. He would therefore always take the deer with him when entering the forest. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Somebody else would like to read the purport, please?
Krishna
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhu, I will read.
Okay.
Mataji, go ahead. Mataji, go ahead.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. How Maharaj Bharat increased his affection for the deer is described herein. Even such an exalted personality as Bharat Maharaj, who had attained loving affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fell down from his position due to his affection for some animal. Consequently, as will be seen, he had to accept the body of a deer in his next life. Since this was the case with Bharat Maharaj, what can we say of those who are not advanced in spiritual life, but who become attached to cats and dogs? Due to their affection for their cats and dogs, they have to take the same bodily form in the next life, unless they clearly increase their affection and love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless we increase our faith in the Supreme Lord, we shall be attracted to many other things. That is the cause of our material bondage. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very much. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let's read the translation again. When Maharaj Bharat wanted to enter the forest to collect kusha grass, flowers, wood, leaves, fruits, roots, and water, he would fear that dogs, jackals, tigers, and other ferocious animals might kill the deer. He would therefore always take the deer with him while entering the forest. So this whole chapter, as we've been hearing from other speakers so far, is about Bharat Maharaj when he reached that stage, just one step short of achieving perfection, spiritual perfection, and going back to Godhead. What can happen at that point? So sometimes we think of it as Bharat Maharaj being an ordinary person who got swayed by attachment and affection, and think of him as one of us. So we should be very careful. See, Bharat Maharaj's case is he's a pure devotee of the Lord, and his example is only to teach us. Just like Arjun was a perfected being, a pure devotee of the Lord, but he was put into the so-called lamentation by Krishna, by Krishna's arrangement, just before the battle of Kurukshetra was about to start. It doesn't mean that Arjun was, although Krishna does call him names in Bhagavad Gita, saying that, how can, you're a Kshatriya, how can you be so important? So Krishna tells him for a purpose, but we should not take it that Arjun is an ordinary person like us. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. But Krishna, he selects such pure devotees to give us very, very important lessons in bhakti. Similarly, Maharaj Parikshit, who had seen Krishna in the womb before even seeing anybody else, any other living entity, he first saw Krishna. He had darshan of Krishna. In spite of that, just because he was hungry and thirsty after a hunting expedition, he became so agitated that he put a snake around Shamik Rishi. Again, we should not judge Parikshit just by that one action. He's again a pure devotee of the Lord. Similarly, Bharat Maharaj is also a pure devotee. So we should not judge his action based on his over-attachment to a deer at this stage of his life. So this is something very important to keep in mind. Now, why is Krishna giving us this lesson? And what actually happens? How the senses get completely bewildered, although the intent may be different, is mentioned here. So this whole story is to keep us alert. Prabhupada says that bhakti or devotional service is like walking on a very sharp-edged sword. We have to be extremely alert. As soon as we lose our alertness, we become complacent. What happens? We'll slip. And as soon as you slip on a sharp-edged sword, guess what's going to happen? So it's the same with bhakti. And this example of Bharat Maharaj is to illustrate that particular point. So in text 11, we saw, of course, we all know the story of how he showed compassion on the deer kid or the doe. And then he, by his show of compassion to save the deer from drowning as soon as the deer was born, he showed his compassion, and he was absolutely right in doing that. So he brought it to safety, started looking after it, nursing it, and bringing it, back to its normal condition of life. But then what happened is he was there for a purpose. He left everything. He left all his attachments. He left all his family. He left all his affection, and he came to the forest so that he can focus completely on devotional service, increase the intensity of his service without any hindrance, any disturbance, and ultimately achieve perfection. That was his purpose. But when he came here, there was no other human beings, but somehow he came in touch with this deer. And as a show of compassion, which is natural for any devotee, he saved that deer's life, and he started caring for the deer, which is also very good. But then what happens after you finish your level of compassion and care? That is a very critical part. And that is where our intelligence and discrimination has to come into play. If it doesn't, this is what is likely to happen as it happened with Bharat Maharaj. So these two verses tell us how slowly, he didn't intend doing it, you see. He was trying to just take care of the deer and spend time and do good for it. That was his intention. But as he was doing it, what subtly started happening? So what happened? In text 11, we see, due to attachment for the deer, Bharat Maharaj, he lay down with it, walked. So he was constantly spending his time with the deer. He was walking around, sitting with him. He bathed with the deer. He even ate with the deer. Now, because he was doing so many activities with the deer, spending so much time with the deer, naturally, when we start spending time with something or somebody, what happens? We naturally have a liking and attachment for that person or whatever activity we are doing. It is very natural. Then in 12, it is mentioned that Maharaj Parikshit, when he wanted to go into the forest, right, to collect his paraphernalia for his daily puja, he wanted to go in. But then he would fear. I mean, he was so attached to the deer that now he started fearing. What did he fear? He feared that dogs, jackals, tigers, and other ferocious animals might attack that deer who he has saved. And so, to stop the fear that, oh my God, he's collecting his puja materials, but then he's thinking, oh my God, I hope the deer is safe. I hope. So to avoid those thoughts and agitation of his mind, out of fear, he started taking the deer everywhere along with him. So it became a part of his life, his existence. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that how Bharat Maharaj increased his affection for the deer is described here. And then further in the purport in the middle, Prabhupada writes that since this was the case with Bharat Maharaj, what can we say of those who are not advanced in spiritual life, who become attached to cats and dogs? So we know that because he was so much attached, when you spend so much time with somebody, when you have attachment to somebody, what is it? You're constantly in your subconscious mind, you're thinking of that person all the time. You are remembering that person all the time. Or it could be an activity. You're constantly contemplating how to do it again because you're liking it. You have some affection, some attachment to that. That is fine. But we don't know at what point we have to leave this body and take another body or go away from this world. So usually most of the people who are not perfected beings will have to leave this body and take another body. So what is that another body? We hear from Bhagavad Gita that whatever state one is or whatever one thinks before the time of his death, that state of mind or that state he will attain. So if somebody is thinking of another person, he gets the body of that person. And that is another example, as we will be seeing further on in the next chapter, how Bharat Maharaj, just before he quit his body, because he was so attached to the deer, he actually went to the forest for what? To remember Krishna, to be attached to Krishna, right? So that when he gives up his body, he will only remember Krishna. But in the course of remembering Krishna, he got so attached to the deer that although he was training himself to remember Krishna before he leaves, because of his excessive attachment, excessive affection, what happened? The remembrance before he left his body was not of Krishna, but of this deer who he gave so much time and importance in his life. So Because he remembered the deer, he took the body of a deer. Of course, we know that because he was a devotee of the Lord, to show this example, obviously made him go through this. But even though he got the body of a deer, he was very safe, as we'll see in the further down in the other chapters, of how even though he got the body of a deer, he remembered his past life. And he consciously hung around the hermitage of sages so that he could constantly hear Krishna Katha. He could constantly see devotional service being performed, and he could be in that association. So what he, here he didn't have association of devotees as such, but he had association of the remembrance of Krishna. He had association of devotional service. So whilst association of devotees is important, but in association of devotees, we have to also associate with the Lord. There are two types. Sometimes we feel that only hanging around with devotees is important. Yes, definitely it is important. But after hanging around with devotees, what do we do is very important. If we are just meeting another devotee and talking mundane things and not having any description of Krishna, anything to do with bhakti, then that is not association. That is a social gathering. So sometimes we think association means only if I'm meeting a devotee, it's association. Yes, we meet a devotee, but after meeting a devotee, we have to associate with Krishna. We have to connect with Krishna, either through Kirtan or through Bhagavatam or through chanting, or doing service together in the temple or at home or whatever it is. So those two things are important. So yes, Bharat Maharaj didn't have association of devotees as such, but he was in the forest to associate and keep himself connected with Krishna by the process of bhakti. Right? So there are two different things. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but both are required. So because he realized that he didn't have devotee association next birth, dear, he consciously had association of devotees. As a result, we know thereafter, when he gave up his life, he took birth again as Jad Bharat, and how he remembered all the past so-called mistakes he did or errors he had committed. And to rectify all of them, he just was completely detached from everything. He behaved like a madman. And then, of course, we hear the story of how he even instructed the biggest king of that time. And eventually, of course, he achieved perfection. So because of this little, we could call it fall down, or we could call it a bit of a deviation, he did have to go through two other births. But his going back to Godhead was guaranteed. His perfection in life was guaranteed. Just took two more extra births. That's okay. So, okay, he had gone through all of this, but what does it mean? What does it mean for us? So first we have to understand that to teach us through examples, if Krishna would have said, okay, you have association of devotees, you do Bhagavatam, and you do this and this and this and this, okay, bye, see you. We would not be that interested. Like in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says this, sometimes people or devotees, they find it a bit dry. It's just instructions, asking questions, very philosophical, and Krishna giving very direct answers. Do this, or this. Of course, at the end, he gives Arjun the free will, that deliberate on what I have said so far and do what you wish to do. Yathachasi tatha kuru. So he gives us all that knowledge. But in Bhagavatam, that same instruction is given in a story form. Why? The Bhagavad Gita is almost like a very bitter pill that it's given. Sometimes when people correct us, they give us good advice. They say what you did was not correct. You should have done this. You behaved badly. You talked badly. We get very agitated. Why? Because our ego is hurt. So we have to introspect. So sometimes when instructions are given very directly, it is very bitter. But when the same instructions are given in the form of a story, it becomes very sweet. We move it, we go deeper into it when we understand, oh, it's happening with somebody else. The Lord is not telling me directly, it's telling somebody else. But when we start getting purified by more hearing, we take it upon us that, okay, if this can happen to this exalted personality, I'm nowhere. I can easily get swayed. In fact, I am getting swayed. So let me take the lessons and try and understand how this person ultimately rectified the situation, rectified his behavior, and ultimately achieved perfection. So Krishna, by these different pastimes through his pure devotees, is giving us instruction, is teaching us what to do, what not to do. So the activities of Maharaj Bharat, Prabhupada says we should study very carefully. Why? If we are serious about our spiritual advancement, we have to always remain alert. So let's look at some of the important aspects, or it's like a flow of emotions and events that happened in Bharat Maharaj's situation, where he first came in touch with the deer. So before he came in touch with the deer, he saw that deer, he was completely focused. He was absorbed in devotional service. His attachment was to bhakti. His affection was towards Krishna. He was in the forest. Life sorted, all good. What happened when he saw this deer, who was obviously chased by the tiger, and the deer gave birth? That small deer was almost drowning. His compassion awoke. Was that right? Of course. If a devotee, as soon as he sees any other living entity in trouble, in real problem, first thing that a devotee tries to do is to help that other living entity. Yeah. So sometimes people think that, oh, if somebody is very helpless and drowning, or about to die or something, that's his karma. What to do? Let's let him die. No. If we are able to, well, obviously, if somebody is drowning and we don't know how to swim, then don't do anything. But then don't do anything in the sense, don't jump in the water, but try and find somebody who can help that person. Don't just stand there. But if you are able to swim and help that person, we should. Right? It's a situational thing. But the point is, the compassion is shown by action. We cannot just say, oh, I feel very bad for this person. And that's not compassion. That's very superficial compassion. Real compassion is when we are taking action to do something to help that person. Of course, what happens as a result of that help is not in our hands. But we should be ready to do something. So that compassion is very important. But ultimately, the devotee may be saving some person from some physical harm or from some emotional problems immediately to solve his immediate problem. But the devotee knows that today this problem is solved. Tomorrow again the same problem will come again if the main problem is not sorted. And what is the main problem? Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Being stuck in this material world. So somehow or the other, because of Srila Prabhupada, the devotee always tries to give the process of bhakti to everybody, whether somebody is in immediate need or not. Because even if somebody is materially well sorted today, a devotee knows tomorrow he'll have some or the other problem. Right? That the person may not take to bhakti, may not come to the temple, may not want to chant, but the devotee knows that tomorrow he'll have problem. So why don't I train him and equip him today with the process of bhakti, so that tomorrow when the problem comes in his life, he will be able to take it in a much better way. He will be able to understand and see the problems with discrimination and react appropriately. That is the purpose of a devotee's compassion. And that is real compassion. So sometimes when a person is drowning, you can't tell him just chant Hare Krishna. So initially we have to go and save him. Then when he's okay, feed him some prasad. When he's fine, and then we can tell him to chant. But it doesn't mean just save him and don't tell him to chant. Or when he's drowning, tell him, no, just chant Hare Krishna before you die. No. Yeah. So compassion is important, but it has to be understood in the right context. Now here, Bharat Maharaj saved the deer, fantastic, no problem. Then what happened, and as some speakers have already mentioned, is he could have just left the deer, because when a deer is born in the forest, the mother is there with the deer only for a few days. And then the baby deer is on their own. They have to fend for themselves, find food for themselves, protect themselves, learn the skills of running or moving away from any danger. They have to learn it. The deer cannot be protected all its life. So because of that situation, I mean, the fact that it's an animal, it needs care only for a few days, and then it has to be left on its own. But what happened is very interesting, and that's something we should all think of a bit deeply, because it is affecting our own lives, and I'll come back to that a bit later. So what happened is this compassion slowly gave way to attachment, some attraction for the deer. Oh, choo choo choo, so nice, cute baby deer. Oh, so nice, bechara. Oh my God, very helpless, poor. Let me do a little bit more. That's how it all starts. It's not that you cannot do, or it's not that if you don't do it, the deer will die. No, the deer is fine. Now you've saved it, it's all good. But because you have spent some time and you've saved it, you almost develop a bit of ownership. I saved the deer, so it is my responsibility to take care of this deer now. So this is a self-imposed authority. That's where the things completely start changing. And we start thinking, or Bharat Maharaj started thinking that, okay, now I have to feed. Now I have to sit with it. Now I have to spend time with it. So what happened? From compassion, slowly it became attraction. From that attraction, it became affection. Affection for the deer. Now, that affection slowly turned into something more deeper. So let's understand one thing. When we have affection for somebody, usually somebody who's very close to us, like our family members, very close friends, parents, we've got affection. What does it mean by affection? We are taking care of that person. We are doing some service for that person. We are doing something for that person out of love. Now, we are doing it for that person as a matter of either duty or love, but we are not expecting anything in return, usually, or very minimal in return, to put it very honestly. Maybe there may not be zero expectation, but very little. If you do for me, I'll feel nice. If you don't do, it's okay. But I want to do for you. That is affection. After that stage, or that stage is very critical. Usually that affection slowly, if you are not discriminating and if you are spending excessive time in showering that affection, in spending more time with that person, that affection slowly becomes what? Attachment. Now, you see, affection to attachment, there's a big jump. It seems very similar. Like if you look at the two words, or if you think about the emotions associated with these two words, it seems very similar. But there is a very fundamental difference. What is the fundamental difference? Affection, as I said, is somebody to the object of affection out of duty or out of love with minimal expectation. When it becomes attachment, then something transitionally different, something drastically different happens. That transition. Attachment is what? Attachment is, I have been doing so much to you. Now you are somebody, because I'm showing you this affection, I'm feeling some pleasure. I'm feeling some happiness, some satisfaction, some bliss. So I am attached to showing affection, taking care of you, and I expect you to be with me, to allow me to show that affection so that my senses are gratified. Try and understand the situation. It is a natural progression. Initially, we are just showing for that person's benefit, for that person's well-being. Then it becomes that I'm showing it so that you be with me and satisfy my senses. I feel good. So you be there so that I can feel good. That is attachment. I'll prove what I'm saying. When you're attached, you're doing it for gratifying your senses. What is the proof? Proof is the person that you're attached to, if that person suddenly leaves or tells you that, okay, I've been staying with you for such a long time, I'm going to leave. What happens? Will you allow that person to leave? No, because you're attached. You will do anything and everything to keep that person with you at all costs. So this attachment is a problem. Anything that we're attached to in this material world is a problem. So Bharat Maharaj, you think if the deer would have by chance run away, he would have been happy? In fact, later on we'll see the deer actually, doesn't run away completely, but he couldn't find him for a while. And in the Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami describes how Bharat Maharaj was completely, he was bewildered, he was completely agitated in his mind that he couldn't find the deer. So agitated. And these are the things we can identify with, exactly that we are going through in our life as well. So we have to be very careful. Showing of affection is natural, is required. But when that affection becomes an attachment, that is when problem starts. That is where miscommunication happens. That is where communication comes to a breakdown. If things don't go exactly as per the expectation of the person who's attached. So this is very, very important. Now, somebody might say, okay, well, if you tell me don't be attached, how can I not be attached? Well, the point is not to be attached at all, but don't be attached to material things. Why? Because material things are temporary. So if we are attached to material things, we know in our mind, by these are material things, whether it's a person or situation or object, it is temporary. Today it is there, tomorrow it will go away. I like somebody, I'm with somebody, I'm attached to somebody, that person today or tomorrow or day after will definitely either go away or he'll leave this world, or there'll be some problem and we'll stop communicating with each other, not even looking at each other's face, not even talking to each other. This is the nature of this material world. So when we know this, why be attached to something that is eventually going to go away? Is it intelligent? No. So what should we be attached to? Chaitanya Charitamrita very nicely says, Kaviraj Goswami, Krishnero charane hoy jodi anurag, Krishna vinu onjotro tar nahi rahe rag. So what does he say? That if one develops his love for the Supreme Person and becomes attached to his lotus feet through service, through devotional service, gradually he loses his attachment to everything else. That is one of the very key aspects. And then further on in Madhya Lila, I said that Sadhu Sange Krishna Bhakte Shraddha Jodi Hoy, Bhakti Phal Prem Hoy, Sangsar Jai Khoy. So Sadhu Sangha Krishna Bhakti, by association with a devotee, one awakens Shraddha, He awakens faith in devotional service. And bhakti phal prem day, that one's love for the Lord, the dormant love that is there in the heart, it awakens. And then what happens? Samsar jay khoy, means this material conditioned life, the miseries of material existence, they come to an end. Khoy means they get destroyed. So this is very, very important. And that's why this whole aspect of the correct association, the correct attachment is very important. We have to fill our intelligence with the right transcendental knowledge to be able to discriminate. And when we are faced with such situations in our life, we need to learn how to understand it and how to react appropriately to it. And at the end of the day, again, this has been pointed out, is we can only react appropriately if we ourselves are spiritually strong. And we can only become spiritually strong when our sadhana is very strong. So somebody might say, okay, Bharat Maharaja's sadhana was also very strong. What happened? Obviously, as we said, is an exception. Usually somebody at that level of sadhana does not go through that situation that Bharat Maharaj has gone through. Again, it's an example. Just like I said, it's Arjun and Parikshit Maharaj are other examples. So our own sadhana has to be extremely strong. What do we mean by strong sadhana? Strong sadhana is our strong connection with Krishna through the process of japa meditation every single day, through the process of Bhagavad Shravan every single day, through the process of personal deity worship every single day. So this is something very important. So if ourselves we are not strong, how can we aim to progress in our own spiritual life and be able to face multiple problems, miseries, reverses in our own life as we go ahead? Sometimes, of course, all of you are senior practicing devotees, but sometimes we find, in fact, maybe many of us would have had this experience where we entered into bhakti and we think that just because I'm engaging in bhakti, all the problems of my life will go away. As soon as I get initiated, my life will be completely flawless. No sinful things will happen, no problems will come to me, no miseries will touch me. So it's living in an illusory world. In fact, it's the other way around. When we take to bhakti, there are more tests being given to us. So if we are not spiritually strong, we will not have the ability to assess the situation properly, react appropriately, whilst keeping ourselves spiritually strong. And for that, we need the right association. And association sometimes doesn't mean that only if you have very good association and good connectivity with Krishna, somehow or the other, we will remain safe. There are examples where without any association, somebody can still remain strong in their sadhana. And there are situations where even with the right association, if there is no inclination to have strong sadhana, the person falls. Like an example is there in Ramayana itself. Both those examples, the good and the bad. So a good example of somebody who did not have association, but still remained very rooted through strong sadhana and remained a devotee in Ramayana. Anybody else take a guess?
Vibhishan, Prabhu.
Vibhishan, thank you. Vibhishan, how strong was his sadhana? He used to write the word Ram on his walls. In his own room, he used to write Ram, 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 Ram. Now, who was his association? All the Rakshasas, all the demons. Is that good association? Yes? No. In fact, while he was doing his sadhana, it said that Ravan came to his room one day. And then he came to his room, he saw the words Ram written everywhere. And he told Vibhishan, Vibhishan, you are writing the names of my enemy in your wall? How dare you? Vibhishan said, no, brother. hold on. Don't get excited. This is your name. He said, what? You've written my enemy's name and you're telling it's your name? How come it is my name? Let's see. It is Ra and Ma, Ram. So Ra stands for Ravan and Ma stands for Mandodari, your wife. So I'm actually glorifying you and your wife, my king and my queen. Ravan heard that, he was happy. So Vibhishan, he had no association, but he was very strong in his sadhana, rooted, even though he had nothing, no association. On the other hand, there was another personality in Ramayana who had very good association, but somehow or the other, for some reason, that person slipped. Of course, eventually that person came back, but the person slipped. Anybody guess?
Kaikeyi?
Kaikeyi. Absolutely. One bad association. Everybody was good. In Ayodhya, like the citizens, it's Ram Rajya, right? So every single citizen was God conscious, was a devotee. So you can't, whenever you go in Ram Rajya, in Ayodhya, you go anywhere, you can only meet devotees. You can't meet any other person. In such a place, Kaikeyi, just one person completely polluted her mind, so much so that she took such a drastic action. So can you imagine? So having all the association did not save her. So this is a very important lesson for us to learn, that it is not just hanging around with devotees, it is also to make our own sadhana very strong. So that is something we take it for granted sometimes. So our japa is very, very, very important. That is our real connectivity with Krishna, our connectivity with the Supreme Lord. And in doing our sadhana in devotee association is even better. That's best. I mean, we cannot go wrong if we have both completely properly done in place. How do we know we've got strong sadhana? How do we know we've got good devotee association? In Bhagavad Gita 256, Krishna gives the example of a person with a steady mind, a sage with a steady mind. Anybody remembers what that term is in Bhagavad Gita?
Hita Pragna?
Yes, Sthitadhir Muni. It's a Sthitadhir Muni. And what is the verse? Dukheshu anudvigna manaha, sukheshu vigata sprihaha, vitaraga bhaya krodha, Sthitadhir Munir Uchyate. That dukheshu, when there is misery, what happens? Anudvigna mana, we don't get agitated. The mind will not agitate me, even though miseries will come in my life. Then sukheshu vigata spriha, I'm not attached. Agar sukh aa gaya, I got happiness, I got some opulence, I'm not attached, I'm not interested. Not just saying I'm not interested, from my heart I'm not interested. So these are very good parameters for us to judge where we are. Then the third line, Vitta Raga Bhaya Krodha. So what does that mean? That are we free of Raga, attachment, Bhaya, fear, and Krodha, anger? If we are free, or these three qualities are getting lesser in our life, then Sthita Dhir Munir Uchyate. Krishna says such a person is a man, is a sage of is a Sthitadhir, is a person who's steady in his Krishna consciousness. So are we having the right association? Are we having the right knowledge? Are we having the right intensity of our sadhana? These aspects are very, 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 very important. So two things that keep us always rooted is our own sadhana and devotee association. So we definitely need compassion, but that compassion has to be towards the ultimate welfare of living entities when we are dealing with them and giving them the ultimate process of bhakti. Number two, affection is natural. It has to be shown, but it has to be done out of love. And we have to be very careful. It should not become attachment where it is gratifying our senses. But attachment and affection should also, along with our family members and people around us, should be shown towards bhakti, towards the devotees, towards the Supreme Lord. So that ultimately that attachment helps us giving that remembrance before we leave this body, which we don't know when it's going to happen. So all with we are doing, these lessons we are learning, is to prepare us for the ultimate test of life. Bharat Maharaj passed that test, even though we may think he went to another body. But I would still say he passed the test. Whether we'll pass the test, only Krishna knows. So we should not waste time, intensify our sadhana. And one way we want to intensify our sadhana is to come together in the association of devotees and have very good kirtan, very ecstatic kirtans, bhajans, japa sessions, and hear a lot of Bhagavatam. Normally, on a daily basis, we may be reading a little bit, hearing half an hour, 40 minutes, and that's it. But one day it should be 7 hours, 8 hours Bhagavatam. So we have an opportunity tomorrow, Nirjala Ekadashi. People are at home, most of us. Let's come together and let's immerse ourselves in the glories of the Lord with the association of devotees. So if anybody is keen, you're most welcome to come tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning to 7 in the evening. Anytime you want, you can stay the whole period. You can come for some time and experience what it is to completely be absorbed in the Lord. So much so that we don't worry about our hunger and our thirst, and get a glimpse of what Parikshit Maharaj might have gone through when he did that for 7 days and 7 nights. Come and experience it for yourself. Good sadhana, good association. That is our sure shot, guaranteed way to make spiritual progress. Of course, under the guidance of the authorities. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We'll open for comments now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much. Explaining all this poem from different angles reminds me of my days in Bhakti Shastri. So all these things we have learned from you, and having a glimpse of most of the things from different angles we have quoted. So thank you once again for the very nice class. One thing came to my mind, Prabhuji, that you told earlier in the class, I think not here today, that by the default in the material world is that it distracts us, and we have to go to Krishna with our will and determination, because always whenever it is a slackness, I mean whenever we can't do that, the default is that we fall back, and everything is there, every trap is there, very difficult to advance. And the test of Maya always tests us. Every moment is testing. The more we advance, the test is even higher. And the example of Bharat Maharaj is an extreme example. He is almost at the level of highest level of, but he has fallen down. So for us, we should understand where we stand really. Every moment, I mean, we cannot think of even, I mean, the stage he has reached, the Bhava stage, it is told. And for us, I mean, I don't know where we stand even at the beginning of this stage. And that is the one thing. And the other way is that I think you have also pointed out, the more we attach to Krishna, and Krishna is so merciful that we can leave it to Krishna to help us always. Because another example, the extreme example, this is for the devotee for test. Well, we fails, but the other example is Ojamil's example, where the Lord was so kind that Ojamil has only done small amount of devotional service in the beginning of his life, and the Lord did not forget it. So if we attach our, through the devotee association, we always believe, take complete shelter on the Lord lotus feet, that always remember the Lord. Please help us, please help us. And through the association of devotees, with their help, we can reach our destination. That should be our goal, and we should never fail to keep that point in our mind. The Lord will help us ultimately, and the Lord will help us through His devotees, because the Lord devotees are the wings of the Lord in our material world, and with their help we can get rid of this. And the power of discrimination comes by association with devotees, that what is real and what is unreal. And if we do that, we can be successful in our devotional life. Hare Krishna.
So, thank you. Different perspectives from your side as usual. Thank you so much. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Very, very nice class. That understand that compassion is understood in right way, and that affection is all right, but attachment is not good. But attachment should be Krishna's lotus feet. That is the takeaway point, and that should be increased by association and strong sadhana. That is the summary for this class today, and we have discussed in different angle with examples. Thank you very much. We should follow this instruction as you always gave us. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Your comments? Questions? All good? Go.
Thank you for analyzing this verse in so many different ways. It's amazing how we can unpack a couple of small verses into so many different directions. Thank you for this analysis. You mentioned in the beginning of the class that this instruction of the Katha of Bharat Maharaj is for us, for people like us, to see how attachment can lead down to diversion. But Bharat Maharaj was already quite liberated. But he just for our own instruction when he did this. It took two lifetime to come back to the Godhead. In last Sunday class, His Holiness Devamita Maharaj was giving class, and he also gave another angle to this issue. He said, Bharat Maharaj's instruction, like apparent formula, he said when the Mayavadis did this, they lose interest. How can a person can be that elevated and go back and take animal life? So they don't want to read, they lose faith. So he said this is a clever way of keeping the Mayavadis or unfaithful people away from this. This is such a subtle but very nice angle to look at it. Because initially, somebody who reads, who's not devotee, might get, how can this happen? People do bhakti for so many, gave up all the emperorship, opulence, and then you get diverted. It's not for me. It's not maybe correct, So they lose faith, they don't read. So, Devata Maharaj was making a point. So keeping away the Mayavadis impersonalists away from Bhagavatam, but they don't have faith. Thank you, Prabhu, for making this point. Give so many different angles. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thanks for adding, Prabhu. That's good. And as Abhay Chan Prabhu mentioned, it's if it can happen to Bharat Maharaj, where are we? So it just keeps us doubly alert.
And another point, end of the purpose, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that even Bharat Maharaj get attached. People who have pets like cats and dogs, what will happen to them?
Yes, yeah.
Some people on association in their old age, they keep pets and they become very attached. They bathe them, they groom them, they take them to special people who look after them, they take them to vets, and even they sleep with them. So right. What's going to happen to them?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Prabhu. And especially we see a lot of rest homes and elderly people, even young people for that matter, who we say that they don't like living with human beings because animals don't shout back when you are shouting or irritated. So they are comfortable with animals, and because they're showing so much affection and the animal is showing affection back, they get attached. And so we know at the end of their life what's waiting. Unfortunate, but that's what it is. That's the situation we are in.
Yeah, in some cases, the owner or the pet owner, when they die, they give some the inheritance to the pet.
Yes, yes.
I mean, this is
So-
an extreme case.
Yeah, just like their wealth. It's part of their wealth.
So what will happen to them? They'll go back. They can have another. They have more association with their pets in the next life.
Next life, yes, become a cat and go to somebody.
Thank you, bro.
Okay, thank you very much, Babu. Okay,
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any more comments.
good. So I take this opportunity to invite all of you tomorrow to Panchatattva Bhavan, 22 Applewood Drive at 9 o'clock. Anybody feels for some time, please come and give us your association. Thank you so very much. Vancha kalpataru.
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवानां नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। हृदय सुहित कृष्ण प्रभु की जय। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। गुरु आनंदे हरि हरि बोल।